YouTube, with the regular season coming to a close in just a few short weeks, it's about that time of year again to have some MVP discussions. As repetitive as it might be, and as toxic as some people make it, I say let's just dive right into it. Let's talk about it, man. If you asked me a few months ago who I'd say the MVP was going to be, I would say superstar center for my 76ers, Joel Embiid, would have been the clear runaway favorite. But as we all know, that hasn't gone the way we thought, unfortunately, for me and my fan base. But I will say, this MVP race is very, very exciting, and I think it's one of the closer ones we've had in quite some time. Last year was pretty close, and last year got a little crazy on social media and stuff like that. But if you've been paying attention, there are two people that are the clear favorites, and between them, it's so close. It's going to come down to every single game that we have left in this regular season. There's also people that could realistically make their way into the serious discussion between these two players. Let's just dive in head first, right? The two players I'm mentioning are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder and Nikola Jokic, center for the Denver Nuggets, two-time MVP in the past. Like I said, looking into these two players' seasons and observing them throughout the year as an NBA fan, I haven't really come to a strong conclusion because I just think their seasons are so impressive equally. Like, I don't know how you could separate a lot between the two, considering that Oklahoma City is first in the Western Conference, but Denver's only a half game back. So while these two players have had similar success individually, and it's hard to distinguish between the two in that regard, you could make a case either way, right? But in my opinion, it's very, very close individually. Their teams are also neck and neck in the same conference, so it's so hard to distinguish between the two of them for me personally. So, SGA elevating the Thunder to the success that they've had. I'm not sure anyone could have expected this type of winning from the OKC this season going into the year, right? Like, I thought OKC would probably be a playoff team, maybe. I thought they'd be like a 6 seed or so. I thought they were like maybe a year away or a couple of years away from really making this happen, right? But now with hindsight and, just looking back on the season so far, only a couple weeks to go, OKC's a real contender in this league. Then we talk about Denver, right? Jokic has been in prime form once again, clearly the best player in the world at this point in the NBA. For me, no question about it. Jokic is the best basketball player in the entire world and has been playing like it. But there are a lot of things to consider here. For one, SGA's efficiency has been off the charts, right? I believe he's shooting something like 54% from the field right now as a point guard, really doing a great job playmaking as well. He is the engine that makes that team go. And while others on the team have elevated their games as well, like Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, new faces like Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, right? There's a lot of players on the Thunder that have really impacted their season beyond what we expected going in. SGA is just on another level right now. Like, he is just affecting each game in so many different ways, like Nikola Jokic. And let's take Jokic's season into account. Triple-double machine. The efficiency is still ridiculous, 58% from the field or so. Three balls a little bit down. I believe it's like 34%, but it's still like, 26, 11, and 9 or something like that. And it's just all world production that we've never seen in this league and might not ever see again after Jokic is done. I will say, I personally don't think narrative should come into play as much as it does when discussing the MVP from season to season, but that does matter for these voters, which is unfortunate because I think it should just be who had the greatest season in the NBA that year. That's what the MVP should be. Team success obviously is important. I don't think it should matter between like 2 wins. If it's close, if there's a 1 seed and 3 seed type scenario, you pick the better individual, right? If it's a 1 seed and 6 seed type scenario, that's a little different. But with these two teams being so close, it's just so hard to navigate. Me personally, I think SGA is going to win it if everything keeps going the way it has, because his narrative is way stronger than Jokic. And, voter fatigue is a real thing, which is unfortunate for Jokic because you could make a legitimate case that he has had a better season than SGA and deserves the award more. But if the season ended right now, I would bet money on SGA winning the award just because of the voters. Like I said, not because of what I think or what the NBA fans think or whatever. But the way I'm looking at it right now is if either one of these guys were to win the MVP, I don't think you could necessarily try to diminish that. I think I would personally be fine with either one because, like I said, they're so close that you could really go either way. Someone's not going to get the award that really deserved it, one of the two guys, but it is what it is. Now let's talk about some of the other guys that I think should be in the running that clearly will be, but the rest of these games are really going to matter for them. In a perfect world for them individually and for their teams, if everything goes a little bit better the rest of the way, they will be right up there with Jokic and SGA. Luka Doncic being the prime example of team success playing a role in the MVP discussion. For me personally, I think Luka has had by far the best statistical season of anyone in the league right now. Dude's averaging 34 points a game, about 10 assists and about 9 rebounds. He also has improved his defense slightly. I think that should matter. But the Mavericks are, a 6 or 7 seed right now, which is really unfortunate for Luka because we all know, his supporting cast isn't quite as good as some of these other teams, but that will matter at the end of the day for voting and just playing by the rules that we have for, how the MVP voting everything works and has worked the past few seasons with the, discussion being around team success and narrative, especially trying not to let voter fatigue factor in, but it always does, right? I don't think Luka is going to win the award unless he can somehow power the Mavericks into like a 5 seed or a 4 seed or something like that. Even a 6 seed, I think they're going to give it to SGA or Jokic. But Luka's season has been so special for him. It's by far the best he's played in his career, in my opinion, in a regular season. And I think, it's just a shame that the Mavericks aren't as high in the standings so that he can't get legitimate discussion for this award. Second player I'd like to talk about for the outside chances that they could make it are Jayson Tatum and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I personally think Jayson Tatum should be a little more involved in these discussions just because of the Celtics' success. I know that team is stacked with talent and he's not necessarily elevating his game like an SGA or like a Luka or just having, the best player in the world type production in Jokic, right? If you look at the numbers for Tatum, they're very, very similar to years past. The thing that gets me on this though is not necessarily the individual production, is that the Celtics are winning way more than anyone else, right? And more consistently, and they're just the best team in the NBA. So for me personally, I think the top 10 player, playing like a top 10 player or top 5 player every single night, while his team is the best team in the NBA, clearly should get more recognition for this award. For me, like I said, if you guys watched my Celtics video the other day, it's kind of just like the Celtics and then everyone else in the league right now in terms of regular season, winning in production. So again, from a team standpoint, but I just think that should matter in the discussion. Giannis is another name I would bring into the conversation just because he also has really great team success. The Bucks are second in the East right now, and if they were in the West, they'd be right up there with the Wolves, Nuggets, and Thunder. He's having one of his best statistical years in the NBA while winning at an elite level. So I think it's just fair to bring him into the conversation. And then, someone else that I want to bring in the conversation just because I know other people have been is Kevin Durant. From an efficiency standpoint, playing some of the best offensive basketball of his career. There's also a lot of stuff online about how people are underrating his defense and he's playing elite defense this year. And if he's not on an all NBA defensive team, they're going to be upset. I don't know if I go that far on KD's defense this year, but I'm throwing him in the conversation just because he has been dominant offensively, putting up some of his best numbers of his career. The problem is he's right there with the Mavericks, right? The Suns are tied with the Mavericks in record as of right now. They'd both be playing teams. And, if we're going to say the same thing about Luka and the Mavericks, we're going to have to say the same thing about Kevin Durant and the Suns. And personally, if I was going to give the award to someone in a lower seed, I would give it to Luka Doncic rather than Kevin Durant. So, I just don't think that case is super valid. Like I said, unless something changes with the Suns record where they move into like a 4 seed or a 5 seed, then I think it'd be fair to, add him more in these discussions. But a couple more players I want to mention that have a super outside chance. I personally think Anthony Edwards should be getting more, love in these discussions as well. Timberwolves have been playing some of the best basketball in the NBA this season. And, going into the season, I don't think, similar to the Thunder, I don't think anyone predicted them to be in contention for the 1 seed by the end of the year. I would have said they would have been a top 5 seed or so, but where they are now, I just don't think anyone could have predicted that. And, powered by Anthony Edwards as the number 1 option on that team. He's been playing the best basketball of his career, really elevated his team to that status as well as a legitimate contender. Just one more player I'd like to mention is Kawhi Leonard. I think he's had such an impactful season for that Clippers team. Really came back as strong as he possibly could when, a lot of people were saying he was never going to be the same. He, all the load management stuff with the Clippers. I do think a lot of that was valid at the time, but if you're Kawhi Leonard, you got to be really happy about shutting a lot of people up about that load management discussion because the Clippers are the real deal right now, and Kawhi is playing some of the best offensive basketball of his career. Like I said, with some of these other guys I talked about. That's pretty much it for the video, man. Who do you think is going to win the MVP? I think it could go either way with Jokic or with SGA. I'm a huge fan of everyone I mentioned. For me, I don't have any stake in the game. I just think I want someone who deserves it to get the award. I don't want it to be a situation where it's toxic like last year and the MVP gets devalued once again. I just think it's fun to talk about. I think we can all be respectful about each other's teams and players without getting too worked up about it. It's fine if you do get worked up about it, but I just think attacking other people's fan bases and favorite players is kind of nonsense and just doesn't really need to take place in a lot of situations. So I kind of wish this award wasn't as divisive as it has been, just because the MVP used to be a really big deal and it's always fun to speculate. And when a player gets it that deserves it, it's a great thing. It's supposed to be a celebration of the best player in the league that year. It's just become something else. But anyways, I'm ranting. Any way you slice it, Jokic or SGA or any of those other guys, if something changes, I think are legit, threats to take home this award. Let me know down in the comment section who you would pick. And do you think it's gonna be SGA or Jokic? Who do you think it should be? Am I missing something that I didn't say in this video? Some, vital information to this topic. It's very possible. I didn't really script this video at all. And again, you guys don't have to agree with everything I said. All I ask is just be respectful down in the comments if you can, just because, you know, it's just basketball at the end of the day, and we're all just expressing our opinions about the game we love. There's no reason to be disrespectful about it. But hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. If you did, really appreciate all your support over the last few videos. It means a lot to me. Make sure you guys drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. It really helps out. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. We're going to be uploading content just like this very often on this channel. Almost every day is what I'm trying to do. So if you guys don't want to miss any more, you know, NBA talks or commentaries or drama, you know, or discussions just like this, make sure you guys subscribe. I don't want you guys to miss any of that either. I'm trying to bring a positive, you know, kind of vibe to the NBA discussion and discourse community on YouTube. So if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, make sure you guys subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. This is your boy D Haven, as always. Peace.